Yep. All right. So again, for those of you who are joining us, this is my talk on how to work with your engineering lead to help grow your career. And to get started, a little bit about who am I. First of all, this is not me. I know you see my last name and people think this a lot. My last name is Sirchia. It's not Sriracha, but it's okay. I kind of, live by this moniker and I go with it wherever I go. So this is kind of my good joke slide to kind of break the ice on any talk that I do. But this is who I am. My name is Robert Sirchia. I'm a senior technical evangelist here at SUSE, part of the SUSE Ranch community. I specialize in cloud native development and cloud operations. And I love to learn. And one of the things that kind of solidifies my knowledge of learning something is when I can teach it to somebody else, right? Because you really, can benchmark how much you know something is how well you can teach it to someone else. So I like to obviously learn and teach it back. You can follow me on Twitter or you can connect with me on Polywork. That's how I met Darren, is through Polywork. It's my new choice to connect with people. Feel free to reach out. You'll see Robert Cirque is my moniker pretty much anywhere you go. Love to keep the conversation going. So a bit of background. This is a picture of me with my development staff in the Philippines at my previous employer. And I was telling Darren before this started, one of my favorite places to go is Makati City, where we had an office. And I got to fly out there and teach these individuals how to do cloud native development, which was a lot different from the traditional, server web tier architecture that we were constantly doing. But a bit of the background is I've led the large engineering teams around, I think the largest team I had was 75 people. On multiple multi-million-dollar projects. A lot of these were rebuilding applications to run in Pivotal Cloud Foundry, or rerunning applications off of client servers to be running in Kubernetes as well. And with the full spectrum of skill sets. So I had database developers, I had front-end developers, I even had middle-tier developers who were doing either .NET, Java, that. And like I said previously, I've had team members from the Philippines, India, the PRC, even in Europe now today. I've worked with people from across the world. And with all that, this is some of the things that I've learned throughout having a lot of junior developers. Now, with my previous employer, I've had junior developers assigned to us quite frequently. In fact, that was part of our model, where we would have a farm team of individuals coming in of either a tech school or college or self-taught, and these individuals would be with their varying skill sets. And so I was accustomed to using and working with junior developers, but I wasn't necessarily the best lead starting off. So this talk is some of the things that we've learned to help you navigate working better with your engineering lead to get the most out of your relationship with that individual. So let's talk about your lead and communicating, right? So there's a couple of things about a developer lead or an engineering lead that everyone needs to kind of understand, right? They have a day job, right? And being your lead is probably the lowest priority of their day job, right? They still have to close tickets. They still have to close their cards. They have coding to do. They have meetings to attend. They have to do everything that you have to do. And yet they have to also be your lead. So that's a hard concept, because most companies look at it going, yeah, this is something you do. Like, it's that you just got to do it on top of your day job. And so it's very difficult, but I want to make sure I call it out, because it is an important thing to know that every lead has a day job. And a lot of companies don't acknowledge the fact that they have responsibilities to individuals who are not necessarily below them in structure, but below them in experience. You might not be the responsibility, right? And so this was kind of frequently I saw is that, junior developers would gravitate to a senior that answered their first question, right? And it wasn't necessarily their lead, and that senior developer wasn't necessarily their responsive, they weren't really responsible for having a junior underneath them, but it just kind of happened that way. So it's leveling with some of the expectations of that. There might be other developers underneath them, or engineers for that matter. And if they are, your time is split, right? So they have a day job and there might be 2 or 3 individuals assigned to them. So you are a priority, but you might not be the highest priority, and they have other individuals that they're talking to. Probably not your manager. I've only seen one instance where that was the case, but it's just kind of a weird dichotomy. So I want to make sure that I call that out. They're kind of a guiding force, not a managerial force. But the vast majority of them might not know how to be a lead, right? And so understand that it's might be new for them as it might be new for you coming into coding if you're new to this, or if you're, in a career change and you're coming in from a different perspective. But lastly, they're human, right? And so they're going to make mistakes. They're going to have good days. They're going to have bad days. And it was something we always want to remember, as frustrating as it might be on your end, it's just as frustrating. It could be even more frustrating on theirs. But the one thing about your lead is they're a wealth of knowledge. You just have to find that knowledge within them, okay?